What I wanted to do then is both to congratulate all our wonderful states who so generously led the way in establishing these community programs, but also for the opportunity to stress how urgent it has become now to scale up those programs, to increase the number of countries developing community sponsorships, that is to broaden the base to more states and to increase the numbers of places available. If we could take a very conservative position and just increase by a small percentage, we would actually increase by many thousands the numbers of possible new places and resettlements. Now, in saying this and urging a scale up of what has been done by so many states so far, we do at UNHCR recognize the very huge strains that COVID-19 has placed on community reception capacities and, of course, on integration itself. But these are exceptional times. And as many of you have mentioned, our Global Trends report this year has made the point that the numbers of refugees, people displaced in their own country and the stateless, has risen yet again to around 80 million. Now, these figures are almost incomprehensible. And I think perhaps it was Laurie Cooper who mentioned the little boy Alain on the beach. The crumpled body of this little boy drowned makes the point perhaps much more powerfully than we can at UNHCR with these statistics. But it is a shocking fact that at least 50% of those that need resettlement who are refugees are children. They have been wrenched away from their environments and find themselves in these powerless situations. Our job, as you all know, is to promote international protection for vulnerable people, but sadly the protection space has been shrinking quite dramatically just as the needs expand exponentially. 168 states closed their borders, nearly 100 of them denying access to asylum. And as Commissioner Johansson has quite correctly said, there is a legal right, one recognized clearly over the last 70 years, to claim asylum. And we are urging, of course, that we can both protect public health and ensure through remote technologies the ability to give people the opportunity to make that claim. At UNHCR, for the first time in our history, we have actually paused the resettlement program, but I'm really pleased to be able to say here that we are now about to resume that resettlement, and we'll be doing it very encouragingly at the request of many states, including Sweden, that have asked us to get moving again and to get these numbers coming up. But the reality for us is that resettlement places are far too few. And this is in a context in which, although we met our target last year of 64,000 places to 29 countries, that represents just fewer than 5% of the 1.4 million people that UNHCR assesses to be in need of urgent resettlement. But there's the context then of so few places, but also it's a context in which the ability to return to the country of origin has now become so extremely difficult. Historically, it might have been easier after a time to return to a country of origin in greater peace, but in protracted conflicts that we've seen in Syria, we're seeing in parts of North Central America, parts of Africa, it has become extremely difficult to return. And that is why UNHCR is relying so much on community resettlement opportunities, but particularly integration and the development of self-sufficiency. And that's really where these community sponsorship programs come in. They provide a durable resettlement opportunity. They enhance self-sufficiency. But as the point has been made, I think, by many so far this morning, and that is that once citizens become involved, they own the project and become advocates. But also they become personally engaged, and that does have the ripple effect, the pebble in the pond effect, that is so powerful in communities. And I think the point is, of course, that reintegration or integration is local. It can't be done at the state level. There have been some very encouraging examples, and perhaps curiously, the pandemic has encouraged a level of solidarity among community groups, and we've seen some very encouraging new examples. One of them is the United Kingdom. that's now embarked on something similar to the Canadian model for community resettlement, but has no ceiling. In other words, if the community embraces new resettlements through the program, then the government will accept those numbers. That is really a unique approach, and we're really delighted. Other countries like Norway have a very high level of flexibility and pragmatism, and they're taking the places that couldn't be filled this year, and they're now taking them across into next year. Where, of course, I think Gregory's made the point about the diversity of partners, and that has been exciting to work with Jennifer in a university, with the foundations, with governments, with the Commission, the European Commission, and others, but also through the Global Refugee Support Initiative, but also national support groups. And I wanted to mention in particular Spain for one of the oldest and most successful of our partners, working through civil society, but engaging about 500,000 people in Spain, either as donors or as citizens, in creating this ripple effect. And we'd love to see more examples of that kind. So I might conclude, if I may, by bringing us back to the values and the language of the Global Compact on Refugees. As you will all know, the key ideas are global solidarity, but sharing of responsibilities and burdens for those people forced to move. It's an inspiring concept, but of course one that was agreed before COVID started. And we're now seeing it as imperative to come back to those inspirational values, and of course to the 1,400 pledges that were made by so many countries. I can speak very personally about the importance of community programs. In my earlier work in Australia, it always was exciting for me to go out into country areas. And as you know, country areas, perhaps in a country like Australia, they tend to be conservative, a little cautious, unsure about new people coming in. But I found time and time again that it was those cautious and careful country communities that would open up their arms and generosity in helping to support new families coming through, getting children into school, helping people find work, finding them places to live. And I think Angam's example is a very good one of that.